able to interpolate his ideas and then improv these little scenes as these characters. I did one as G, the Jack Benny Show. And he becomes a Minuteman in 1775, and he doesn't know what that means, you know. Mm-hmm. And it's very funny. And the guy is cheap, and he has all the things that about Jack Benny were right there for me, even though it was written before Jack Benny was on the radio. I said, that's a Jack Benny episode, so I did it that way. I did one, yes, W.C. Fields. It took me a while to figure this one out, but the story was a children's story about, this is how he wrote his children's story, but he wrote it, it's about the Whiskey Rebellion and how the children go out and get drunk with Aunt Polly and shoot revenues, kill them. And even the children, Aunt Polly, can I just a wee drop more, you know. Oh, but Aunt Polly wouldn't give it to her because she knew that children drinking in the afternoon was not good for them. You know, and they're killing people. So I decided it was Mae West, and I grew up with children, and they would sing a little yodeling song around all the voices. And then I did John Wayne as General Custer's son, and then he must be an artist instead. And then the best one I like, General Grant. And it's the opposite of what war really is. He's very honorable. He doesn't drink. He doesn't curse. Everyone loves him. He talks like Gary Cooper. So it sounds like a Frank Capra, Gary Cooper movie. You see? And I still sound like myself when I do that. And I try to explain that to my unfans, my non-fans, the 4 people who hate me because they know it's me. Well, that's part of the trick. It's part of the joke. When I'm reading a book, I don't just read it flat, but I also don't try to become the character because I can't. I am Joe Bevilacqua reading you a story, but I'm also doing a Southern belle who talks very genteel. And it still sounds like me, but it's about the attitude. You know, that confuses a couple of people. They want either or. They want flat reading or they want 5 people to do it, you know, in a room, which is very time-consuming and expensive. And I do it sometimes. But when I was ill especially, it's much easier for me to do it by myself. That's why it's going to be great when these guys come up to visit me for Lakewood Comedy. And I force them, because anytime you come visit me, you're going to record. And whether you like it or not, and I'm going to ask you to play a character, probably, at least one. Well, I play 15, and we don't really know what we're going to do. So, what do we have next?
Voice clips, you mean? The audio clips?
What's the next one?
Let's see.
You see, I have above me, by the way, I'll say to the audience while you're figuring that out, you see the blackboard. I use that as my to-do list instead of putting it on the computer where it can get accidentally deleted. And I just use the old-fashioned chalkboard, and I write down my projects, and I give them a number of priorities, even though they're not chronological on here. And Liquid Comedy was added as number 11 yesterday, only because Trey asked me to find some audio, and I wound up finding an old tape cassette that I haven't heard in 10 years, and no one's ever heard it. You guys are hearing it for the first time. If these pieces were premiering on your show, Trey, are you excited?
I'm honored. I'm happy.
Heck with that. You're excited. Just like Trump. Don't listen to what I say. Do what I say. Okay, good.
Well, before
I'm going to bully you into loving me. I'm great. Don't you know how great I am? You gotta love me. You notice that I fell down today and I landed inside a pumpkin and I can't get out. Okay, go ahead.
Before I play the next clip, I want to bring up something you mentioned about criticism. You know, criticism.
Go ahead. Let it fly. It's a good point. If I can say so.
Well, actors or anybody in general, you know, they go through criticism. Voice actors, and I know if we've both faced criticism, you know, as voice actors and performers, you know.
Yeah, so who cares? First of all, am I going to please everybody? No. Second like in every single person that's ever been born, and every animal, and every creature, or bug, or rock is not the same. So humans trying to tell each other what to think and how to be is wrong. It's just, it makes no sense. The questions that should be asked is, what works for you? How do you feel?
How do you deal with the criticism? How do you handle it?
Trey? How do you feel? Do you feel good? Are you happy? What's bothering you? That's what I want to do. I don't want to preach to you. We got politicians that are preaching to us like preachers, and preachers that are preaching to us like politicians. Hey, I just made that up. I'm really actually a smart guy. What they used to, call, well, he's a little different. He's a little different. Joe's a little different. He walks to a different beat than everyone else. He's a little different. That's just a way of trying to tell me that I'm wrong and they're right. Well, who's wrong and right? Too complicated.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what to eat. I can only tell myself what to eat based on what I educated myself to eat. And I can tell you what I've learned about eating. Or I can tell you what I've learned about voice acting. But then you got to go on your own and find your own way. We're bumping into each other too much, man. Like Facebook, I get away from anybody that starts arguing about something because I'm like, well, then you're closed up. Everything's going out, nothing's coming in. I really want to hear people start being nice to each other again.
Yeah.
Like they were when I was kids. Even though we had the same problem, some worse, some better. Racism still there. All these negative behaviors are still happening, but they've been happening since the beginning of time. And they're always going to happen. But you know what can make life better? You and me talking to each other and sharing. Everything I'm sharing with you today may end up out on the CD, may not. I don't know what's going to happen to it. But I know when I discovered it accidentally yesterday because of you, it made me laugh. That's all I'm actually looking for. I just want to sit in the woods and laugh and laugh and laugh. I want to die laughing in the woods.
Yeah, I think that's all we strive for, is to die of laughter. Make people laugh and happy,
Well, Sean died making people laugh on stage. John Ritter died making a TV show, in front of people, passing out during the rehearsals. So if you like what you do, if you love what you do, like Rick Van Dyke might say, don't stop doing it ever. If you find like what I've found, which makes me happy, and then everyone around me becomes just a little happier, then I have a purpose. That's my purpose. I don't have to be an existentialist to go find my purpose. My purpose is to be me as best I can, and maybe leave the little piece of land I have better than it was before and not paved over like the rest of the planet. I'm more concerned about whether or not they're going to pave over my 23 acres here of woods and hiking trail and waterfalls up into the Catskills than I am about the state of our country or the state of the world. I think we need to take our own, be aware of all that, but you got to take responsibility for what's happening in your own backyard, as they say.
Yeah, life just needs to be simple,
So that's why I have divorced myself from the idea of criticism. I said to you offline, a guy critiqued my Sherlock Holmes on Audible, and he found a mispronunciation of a word, and I didn't have a conversation with him. I just corrected it and put it back into so that the correction was made. So I have no problem with criticism. What I don't like is that because everybody thinks they can do everything now because of the technology, they think they're experts at it. So they talk like experts. They write blogs like experts. They review my work and pick it apart as if they actually know anything about the art of voice acting or the art of audio storytelling. They should back off just a little. But that's not going to happen. So, Van Gogh, I'm not comparing myself to Van Gogh. I feel like I'm an audio Van Gogh. I am. I'm like creating audio art. Swirls, all he created these beautiful paintings of swirls, and everybody said, "What are you doing that for? Nobody does that." Well, that's right. Nobody does it because nobody could do it like he could do it because that was him. Right?
Yeah.
Came out of him. John Lennon's work came out of him. Miles Davis' work came out of them. And we're still criticizing them anyway. Critics. Miles' electric days aren't as good as his acoustic days. And, the album he made, this album is this, and that's the greatest album ever made. And this is the worst one. I don't care what you think. He didn't care. He had one problem. He had a drug addiction. He was black in a world that's increasingly happening again, where you can't just go. He was performing in a club, this poor man, Miles Davis. He's in the band. Coltrane or Charlie Parker, I think, was in the room. They take a break. A woman says, "Can you walk me to my car? It's a dangerous neighborhood." So he walks the guest out to the car. He puts the woman in the car. The police come over and say, "What are you doing here?" I'm playing inside. Get out of here. Get out of here right now. They beat him up. He didn't go back inside. He went to jail. He didn't do anything. He was performing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I was there in white, it wouldn't have touched me. Why? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'll tell you what, I appreciate the man's art. Because he really did push music in a way, like Van Gogh pushed art in a way, and many other people that we revere, Shakespeare, all of these people were doing things that were better than everyone else because they knew they could do it. No one told them not to. Nobody said to Shakespeare, a 4.5 play about a guy who's suicidal and goes around killing people, and then, and then he gets himself killed at the end, is not what people want to see for 4.5 hours. Well, Hamlet's the greatest play ever written. It still is.
Oh, yeah.
There is no play that could touch Hamlet, including the Greek tragedies. It's the peak of our artistic, as a culture, our artistic moment. I played Hamlet in 1982 on radio. I produced and directed it in school, and I made it my last 3 credits. I wrote my own course. I got teachers to play all of the adult roles and students to play all of the other characters. And I was Hamlet. We recorded it. I cut down a little, because there's a little, it's hard to get students to do some of the things. And so it ended up being 4 hours exactly.
Wow.
But, people can actually buy it. It's on, I don't own it, but it's on Amazon, my Hamlet, from 1982. In any event, I think criticism is perfectly legitimate. I want to hear, because I cannot think of everything. I'm not, looking. I can't look at myself from the outside or hear myself from the outside, but I can observe other people's reactions and learn from them.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't like people being mean while they're doing it, calling me names, telling me that I should die, and that my work should be all bought up so it could be burned in a big pile. I'm like, that's a little over the top. All I did was a story about a detective. Okay, relax, man. You don't need to write 5 paragraphs about how awful it is.
Yeah.
You go get a job. Do something. Hey, if everybody's on Facebook, I don't know how anybody's getting any work done. People ask me why I don't have my phone on all day long. I'm like, because I don't need my phone on all day long. I got work to do. I don't want you calling me. When I'm at the doctor's office, I don't need to check my phone. I'm at the doctor's office.
Oh, yeah.
In any event, I don't know how much time we have, or we can just go as long as we want. But what's the next thing there?
Let's see. I'll play one more clip, then I'll ask my last question, then we can wrap up.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
the next
Doesn't matter what.
the next clip is Chippy. Chippy.
Play Chippy. And let me just say, qualify it, that Gary Bueller, and I just gave them a premise, Gary Bueller is a chimpanzee. And Jim Burley is an Italian guy who owns the chimpanzee, and they go to the racetrack.